Hey everybody, Brian Good here. Welcome to the earliest alert. We have a lot to talk about today, so let me hurry up and get to it. First off, fog around this morning, a lot of sunshine, looking great today. We'll top out at 78, still looks to be around 80 tomorrow, and we've trended toward 80 on Sunday because the front here on Sunday appears to be mainly west most of the daylight hours. We have the front and we have that low to the south there over Arkansas. That is also an important player. But it looks like because of that setup, we really won't have to worry about much of the rain until Monday. So here's how it trends with the front approaching. Notice the clock here. Most of the rain, again, mainly far west, a good chunk of the day. So I've raised the high up to 80. Now, if we don't get overcast quickly enough, and that's what I'm betting on now, if we get more sun than expected, then we're talking about lower 80s as we get into Sunday. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We'll see how that trends as we get closer. But either way, rain will begin to kick in as we into Sunday night with the front. The front's going to wash out. Our main concern really is going to be that low then, moving from the southern states right into the Smoky Mountains. And at that point, we get what we call the deformation band, like you would in the wintertime. This is where you get your heavy snow, the banding features. This low will have a similar setup, but in this case, it's rain, and it's got a sharp cutoff to where it ends versus where the heavier rain is. So right now, it's like central and southern Kentucky. We'll likely take the brunt of that before the low finally moves away. So the rain totals, we'll fine-tune this when we get closer, but overall thinking is where that deformation band is. We could be looking at 1 to maybe 2 inches of rain. It wouldn't surprise me. We'll see how that plays out, but look at the sharp cutoff in Indiana. So right now Indiana looks in better shape compared to Kentucky when it comes to the heavier rain, but everybody really could use the rain, and oddly enough, really Indiana needs it more than Kentucky. So we'll see how it plays out when we get closer, but that at least is some good news for those who have weekend plans. Then we got to deal with the upper low. Still looks like it's going to be a situation where it's going to be warm early in the day on Tuesday, and then as the low drops in, we get falling temperatures working its way in. Rainfall will begin to increase as far as scattering of showers. I still see a narrow opportunity of maybe some sleet. I mean, the atmosphere is going to cool down overnight, Tuesday night and early Wednesday, but the amount of cold aloft, it's there, but it does not look as cold as yesterday, so I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Right now, it's like a couple of ice pellets. And a lot of you will likely be sleeping when it happens. We'll watch it. Plenty of time. But it is cold. Don't get me wrong. It's a cold system. But it's not going to be that big of a deal on the wintry side of things. The biggest issue is going to be the wind and just how chilly it's going to be throughout Wednesday in general until the low moves out of the way, which will happen throughout the entire day. And then we begin to warm back up on the back side of it. Then that leads us into one quiet day, which looks to be next Thursday. And the amount of warming on Thursday will depend on how quickly that low moves out Wednesday. If it takes too long to move out, then Thursday it'll be a gradual warming. If it moves out fast, we could easily push well into the 60s on Thursday. So we'll fine-tune Thursday's forecast, but it looks to be the quiet day for next week. Because we get into the setup here of the following weekend. Now, to do this, I've got the upper air charts here. This is the GFS model. These are the temperatures aloft. Obviously, you get into the grays and yellows warmer, and then the blues and pinks colder, and I've got them outlined by black so you can see the different levels really they are. Normally we don't show that much detail on TV. But I'm going to rewind the clock here. Let's start with this weekend, and you can see as we head into Sunday, not bad temperature wise aloft. Again, these are not surface temperatures aloft because that's an important part to look at for later. But then as we headed, that's the low moving in as we know Monday. You see the change in air mass hasn't happened. So when you look at the forecast, around 80 or so on Sunday, and then 60s to around 70 on Monday. It's a good 10-degree difference, but it's mainly because of the clouds and the rain. It's the reason why it's a bit cooler Monday. But the air mass hasn't really changed. It's just that it's cloud and rain induced is why it's cooler. However, the upper low is a different story. That is a change in the air mass, and that drops right over us Tuesday night and Wednesday. Hence the falling temperatures and why we may see an ice pellet or two, but it's just going to be a chilly setup. But then we reverse course, try to warm back up again, but then here comes another front, and this one's a mean looking front as far as how quickly it digs into the area, and the models are really struggling with this setup. Now what I'm going to do, when you get to this point, you see the light blues and the pinks, you're getting right into the rain snow line now. Yeah, I know, I said it. And when I add on the precipitation, you'll see what's happening. It's detecting that rainfall rates will be heavy enough. It's a classic dynamic cooling deal where the moisture is lagging behind the front and then the cold air catches up with it. You get your burst of snow that ends. It's a wet snow kind of deal. I hate showing this because I really don't want to say this is going to happen, but it's just one model's idea, and I'll explain why it's at least possible here in just a second. But even as it moves on by, it tries to hit that there will be some snow catching the back edge of that front as it digs through here. Once it moves out, it looks chilly on Saturday, but I'm also seeing signs we may have another wave that may cut off this warming that we were looking at for Halloween. This next wave may dive in quick and cut it off. So we'll have to watch Halloween's forecast. I've made some adjustments there. I'll show you that in just a second. All right, so the GFS, it's got, the cool weather for Tuesday, Wednesday. It's got the dynamic front. It's showing a hint of snow. When you look at the ensembles, I know this is very hard to read from our friends over at Weather Bell. It's a great map. Which ones indicate that idea that the cold air catches up producing snow? There's one here. One hints at it there. This one does not. No. This one sort of does in the higher elevations. This one does, but a little more north. This one certainly does in the back edge. Let's see. This one does in the Ozarks area, and not really that one. So not every model idea of the GFS agrees that this is something that could happen. But it's a possibility, and the models are not going to get it right this far out. You guys know how this works. Come on. This is the first one of the season. And to help illustrate that, here are the ensembles of the GFS. You see when they're close together like that, confidence is higher of what will happen. And confidence is pretty good on a chilly forecast as we head into Wednesday here. But look how we get into Friday and Saturday and even Sunday. Look at the spread. Anywhere from potentially 70 degrees for a high to temperatures around the upper 30s to 40 degrees. It's ridiculous. So at this point, all we're going to say is that there will be a band of rain with that front, and it will turn cooler and windy, in fact, colder potentially. And that's all we can really do. We can't say that it's going to go to snow yet. No one knows that. But attention to the data, see that. And that's something that, as meteorologists, we just have to pay attention to it and see how the pattern evolves. Okay. Now let's look at the Euro idea. Same deal. It's got the upper low, or the cutoff low, moving in as we head into Sunday and to Monday right over us. And then here comes the upper low right on top of us, Tuesday and Wednesday. So far, great agreement, right? Then we get into the late week deal. Now it's showing a decent little surge of warmth there on Friday, but it does show the drop in temperature, just like the GFS, just a bit more delayed, more into Saturday morning than Friday afternoon. When I add to the precipitation, so far it's keeping it in liquid form here with the front. Even as we head into the end period here, it looks like the moisture's right on the edge of it there, to where there's just enough to where it's doubtful that there will be a changeover, at least according to the operational run here of the Euro. But it too also shows what's happening on the backside of that toward Halloween, another dive that may try to come in toward Halloween and cut off that. So yeah, I'm not happy about that, guys. Okay, so let's look at the Euro details. First up, here's the median ensemble run, and median is the average of all of them, and it's saying that there could be some snow catching up, or cold air catching up with the rain for the Friday front next week, with maybe a bit of snow in Missouri and Illinois, but not here. When you look at the control run, which is the one that uses the initial data, it's indicating a burst of snow, a little more what the GFS even was trying to allude to, across portions of Indiana, Ohio, maybe even to parts of wave country there. But when you look at the spread, the same thing happens here. They displayed a little differently, but confidence is higher in the short term. And then when you get into that Friday, Saturday period, the range is again around 70 or higher to potentially in the 30s for highs. That is just too big of a range, guys, to have confidence that's remotely high. And look at the PNA. This is crazy. I mean, this is the long wave pattern of the jet stream here. When it goes into this territory, we get wild with cold weather. When it goes into here, we get warmer. And just look how the different runs are. I mean, it's chaos on next week. So we'll worry about that headache later. But I did trend the forecast, at least hint at a cold wave coming with that front. And then I did trend cooler for Halloween based on the recent data. And we'll see how that looks as we get closer there. So our quiet, boring weather for a lot of us is about to come to an end as we get into a very dynamic setup for the end of October, and I think this is going to continue into November, but we'll allude to that more in the Halloween night winter forecast idea. Have a good day, guys. Have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday.